All right, we are good to go.
All right. We'll go ahead and call our meeting to order. It is actually 6:30 my time, so that's good. I want to welcome everyone to our January 21st meeting. Do we have anything to add to our agenda?
No.
Okay.
No.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes of the December 17th, 2020 board meeting?
So move.
All right, thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, the minutes will be approved as written. May we please have the report?
So we had a starting balance on November 30th of $1,824,938. Our income for December was $118,469. Our expenses for December were $70,265, and that left us with an ending balance on December 31st of $1,873,142.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve the December check register and the financial report?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second the motion.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, let's please move on to the librarian's report.
All right. So our circulation for December was -64, with our patron count -86%. Under database access, so we've been able to work it out to where we can get some stats on our new genealogy database directory. This number doesn't actually represent the total usage, because any multiple uses by the same person from the same device are being counted as one because it goes by IP address. But we did, even with that, we had 107 uses in December, so that's pretty awesome. Programs in December, of course, our activity kits have still been highly successful. Fran's genealogy program was on touring our genealogy room and the resources available in there. If you're interested in that, that's on our YouTube channel, so you can go watch that. We estimate that we had 280 participate in our story walk that we did along with the extension office and the health department. For upcoming programs, of course, we'll still do the activity kits. Fran's program this month will have Keith Atkins. He's a Charity Southgate researcher and descendant. So he's going to talk about his research and the story of Charity. For maintenance, Debra Kemple repaired the O-rings and three-way valves on unit number 2 and 4. Cintas completed the quarterly sprinkler inspection, and on par with this year, so it's not good news. The sump pump in the pit outside was overheated, so that needs to be replaced. The sign for the fire department connection was missing, so that also needs to be replaced. And we're also due for a code required 5-year hydrostatic testing. So the quote that they sent for that was a little over $1,000. So that'll be included in our budget amendments here in a little while. Post Browning replaced the drive-through speaker in our drive-through window. Professional activities. So I've still been attending the virtual regional directors meeting and the CWC meetings. And Tanya has also still been attending the virtual regional youth meetings. For E-rates, I've filed Form 470 to collect bids for our bookmobile hotspot service. And we'll collect bids through February 11th on that. Technical support update. So this ended up just kind of being a whole mess. Last minute, we found out that LibSynergy didn't actually dissolve, but rather they sold to a company called Shelter Blue. And Shelter Blue actually focuses on IT for dental offices. So they've created a LibSynergy division within that company to service libraries specifically. Since it was sold instead of being dissolved, Carl isn't legally allowed to provide IT services to LibSynergy libraries because of a non-compete clause in his contract. So that with the just very short timing, we went ahead and went with the 6-year contract with the new LibSynergy company. So we'll evaluate kind of how that goes along and see if we need to stick with them or switch after 6 months. For grant updates. So for the KDLA workforce grant, we have received the laptops, but we're still waiting on Verizon for the hotspots needed to complete those kits so we can start circulating those. I'm not sure yet how much longer that's going to take. Within the last 3 weeks, I've been transferred to 3 new representatives. So they're going through some issues there. We have been officially awarded the Library Transforming Communities grant. So that'll let us purchase some additional hotspots and some other non-traditional items for our collections. For the KPLA Advocacy Committee update, so you have a sheet attached for that. But due to everything going on with COVID, they've canceled the advocacy day for libraries in Frankfort. There's the Friends of Kentucky Libraries are still going to send the yellow M&Ms that we do every year. And they give some suggestions on what to do in place of Advocacy Day. As far as things that they're watching, there really hasn't been any bills filed at this time that concern libraries. The PVA issue is still out there, but no bills have come through on that. They are trying to restore some sort of state aid, specifically for libraries who have limited or no funding otherwise. And then also there's a link there for a webinar that provides advocacy training. So if you're interested in that, the recording's available at that link. And that's all I have for my report.
All right, thank you. Do we have anything for the regional librarians report?
Really the only thing on here is they do provide some of their social media links if you're interested in that. And they also have some information here about a mandated reporting as a public librarian in Kentucky webinar that they did. If you're interested in that, that's been recorded and I can send you the link for that.
All right, thank you. Now we'll move on to our old business, the update of the sale of our Highway 27 property.
All right, so this is good news. Last update I'm going to have to give you all on this. So the closing was completed on December 22nd. Thank you, April. And we did receive payment for $93,800. So that's $100 less than what I told you all at the last meeting, because they missed including $100 transfer tax that we also had to pay as a part of closing. So that's why it's a little less. So the decision now is, if you all want to put that money into a CD. I called Heritage, US Bank, and Fifth Third today. Heritage has the best rates as usual. And I mean, they're not good, but it's still more than what we would get in our checking account. So Heritage has a 91-day CD for 0.2%. They have a 182-day CD for 0.25%. And then a 1-year CD for 0.35%. As low as they are, we probably want to go with either the 3 or the 6-month term. But that's up to you all.
Is there any discussion?
I'd say go with the 3-month term, wait for it to flip around, and then you can decide, or look into other banks while you're doing that, because it gives you time to other places too for 3 months. Because I know you've been busy lately doing all these things, so that'll give you some time to relax for that and put it in there for 3 months, and then decide what to do after that.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
All right.
So then we would just and I'll read this for you, April, because it's kind of long. So we would need a motion to transfer $93,800 from the Heritage Moneymaker account into a CD for 91 days at Heritage Bank, and that Melissa Bird, Director, and Stacy Meyer, Treasurer, have the authority to redeem and set up certificates of deposit for the Pendleton County Public Library and have access to account information along with Dennis Moneyhun, PCPL accountant.
I make a motion to go ahead with that.
I'll second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you. All right. We can move on to our new business. We have a policy review.
All right. So the first policy here is our financial reserves policy. So Chip Sutherland, who's our financial advisor at Bard, along with Chris Bischoff, our regional, and some others throughout the state, with libraries, have been working on a good policy for smaller libraries. Everything in here is exactly what we've already been doing. We do the reserve, the operational reserve, so that we make sure that we have enough money to cover us until taxes start coming in December. So that's that 6-month reserve. An emergency reserve, to keep that at 250,000, so to cover emergency repairs such as roof or HVAC, that sort of thing. And then following those two reserves, once we've met where we want those reserves to be, that anything else would go into the capital facility reserve. So it applies a little bit of different terminology just to kind of make this comparable across libraries. So we're all using the same terminology. When we say something, we know what we're talking about. So this pretty much replaces the one paragraph that we originally had in our financial reserve policy. The next one is our investment policy. And so this just covers, how we can invest any funds that we have. this is based on the recommended policy from KDLA. So the only addition that I put in there was which is something that was omitted the first time this policy was created, which is on the second page, and basically just says under statutory requirements, the board treasurer shall be bonded in the amount of $150,000. Everything else in that policy is the same. And then third, we've got the genealogy and local history services job description. Because I missed getting this updated when we did all of the rearrangements before. So this is the updated version, which basically just adds the supervisory requirements into her job description.
All right, thank you. Do we have a motion to accept the revisions to the financial reserves, investment, and job description policies as presented?
I'll make a motion.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, we will now move on to our budget amendment, please.
All right. So this proposal adds $3,000 to both revenue under a new line item called miscellaneous grants, and under expenses with a new line item called materials, non-traditional materials. So this is for funds received from ALA for the library's Transforming Community grant. It also adds $6,538.58 to revenue under gifts and endowments. So this is for the Kathleen Arnold and David Arnold Foundation funds. So we got the check in for that, and this is the exact amount of that. We'll still need to add that in on the expense side once we figure out what we want to spend that money on. It also adds the $93,800 to revenue for the sale of the Highway 27 property. So that allows us to return $93,800 to our reserve funds that we had at the beginning of the year designated to use for this year. It is worth mentioning that we've taken that from down from over 115,000 at the beginning of the year, now to only using a little over 42,000 from our reserves to cover the expenses this year. So that's a really good thing. It revises the names of the reserve funds per the policy revisions. So taking that 93,800, it increases the operational reserve to 480,000 by adding $62,108. That looking back at what we've spent to December this year and what we spent to December that last year, that ensures that we have enough in that reserve to cover from July through December. And then it adds the remaining $31,692 into the capital facility reserve. It adds $2,500 to expenses for building repairs. So this is to help cover the additional repairs by DeBra Kemple for the O-rings and the three-way valve, and also the Centos repairs that we have to have done. Final amended revenue, so that would be at $981,600. Final amended expenses would be $967,219. And then adding in for future amended expenses, the money from the foundation. That leaves us with a remaining available funds that are just kind of not committed of $7,746. So should we need further repairs this year, we can pull from that.
All right. Do we have a motion to amend the budget as proposed?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second the motion.
All right, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Let's move on now to the use of the Kathleen K. Arnold, and David A. Arnold Foundation funds.
All right. So for this money, and that's the $6,000 plus. The only requirements for this is that we make sure that we spend these on tax exempt purchases. And then of course I'll file an annual report to them on how we spent that money. Some possible suggestions for how we might use that this year are painting some additional areas of the library. Right now, we're working towards getting into a rotation where we can alternate each year between painting part of the library and resurfacing the parking lot. The downside to that is that in the meantime, we have a lot of areas that are just looking rough because they haven't been painted since we've been here 8 years. Another possibility for how we might use the money is a strategic planning consultant. So our current long range plan is for 2016 through 2021. So that's something we might really want to consider revisiting this year. As far as in the future, one thing that we could use some of the money for is on-site document shredding service. So we're going to try that out this year using under our current budget. We don't need any additional funds for that this year. But how that'll work is they'll place 3 containers in the library for people to be able to drop off at any time, anything that they need to have confidentially shredded. And then they'll come shred those materials every 4 weeks. Also, a possibility for future use would be ongoing costs for the hotspots and the laptops after grant funds run out. Of course, we're open to any other suggestions that you all might have, and in general, what your thoughts are for using those funds. And then I can submit another amendment once we have that figured out.
Where do you think we need it the most?
My thinking is painting and a strategic planning consultant.
Now, will that take up all the money, or what would you do? Like cut it in half, or I don't know.
Right. The first thing would be if we want to go with a strategic planning consultant is first determining who and how much it's going to cost. That's not something I know right now off of the top of my head.
Yeah.
Painting, that's something that if there's money left over that we could put towards painting, if we decide that we don't want to go with the consultant right now, I'm sure we could actually spend the entire amount on painting additional areas if we wanted to. But again, that's something that we'll need to get a quote on. So right now I'm just kind of trying to get a good direction of where to go with this.
Now, the last time you had that consult or whatever it is, the 5-year plan,
Mhm.
who did that? And do you remember how much that cost then? I know it's probably gone up since then, but
Right. I don't know how much that cost then. I could find that out. I could look back through our financial reports and find that out. Um, I will say we weren't very happy with the service. Um, so if we want to go that route, it would be my recommendation that we go with somebody else.
well,
Um,
that's fine. Now, is that something that we have to do as a library, that 5-year plan, or is that something that you just thought was good for the library to have that?
it's definitely good for the library to have that. It it does come up like with the annual report and library standards, um, some financial financial type not requirements but recommendations. Um, the good thing about doing a long range plan is that it gives us a good direction to go in. It gives
Okay.
us a little bit more insight into what our community needs from a third party, not necessarily just from us. So we have help in interpreting that and deciding what direction we want to go in.
Now, I
Uh,
know you said you weren't happy with it. Is the company or person you use, is it a local or is it just statewide or what? I don't know.
he, I think, was based out of either Louisville or Lexington, I think. Um, I know there's a lot of other strategic planning consultants that have been recommended by other libraries.
Okay.
Um, so it's not like he's the only person in the state who can do that.
Well, if you've been recommended, I guess since you're the person that's going to have to deal with them, you know, if you got somebody that you really trust at one of the libraries, take their recommendation
Mhm.
because, word of mouth is a lot better sometimes. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
So
Okay.
if you think we should do that first and then just use the leftover for painting, if you know that I think that's right because this is 21, so we have to get something done this year, I would assume, with the 5-year plan.
Right. I would recommend that we do, yes.
Now, as far as the painting goes, is it a big area, a small area? Could we do like a little this year, a little next year? Does it all have to be done this year?
It doesn't all have to be done this year, and kind of what our plan is to get it to where we are doing a single area every other year.
Okay.
Like last year, we did the meeting room and the lobby and the public bathrooms. Um, some like around the circulation desk is looking pretty rough right now. And like back in the teen area, that's kind of looking pretty rough. There's a couple other areas. But no, we definitely wouldn't do the entire library. We'd want to kind of phase that in.
Okay. Well, that sounds good to me. What everybody else thinks is fine.
Uh, that sounds good to me. I just suggest that when it comes to the painting, maybe get more bids. Maybe, I know we seem like we use the same person or whatever, and I don't. It's maybe we get like 2 or 3 bids from different companies to see if there's maybe a cost difference on painting. Unless you're satisfied with somebody, that's fine. But
Right. Well, and that's what we did last year. Donna actually contacted, I think, like 3 or 4 different painters. And the one that we went with really was the best on price and service. So, but yeah, we'll check on that again, of course.
I mean, I think painting's good because people see that. So if I'm donating money to somebody, for one, you want to see what's being done. It's like, well, look, there's been improvements made where the consultant is helping, but it's something that's not seen by the public. It's more of a inner thing, you know. So it's like, I think just seeing improvements in the library makes people feel better. Like, wow, they're doing things here, you know,
Sure.
goes that way.
All right, well, if there's no more discussion on that, then we'll move forward to our COVID-19 response.
All right. Sorry, excuse me. So this is kind of a two-parter tonight. So the first part is the extended paid sick leave under the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. So that expired as of December 31st. To date, we've not had to have anybody actually use this leave. And hopefully if we do extend it, we still won't ever have to have anybody use this leave. But there's kind of a mix in how other Kentucky libraries are handling this. Some just let it expire as is and return to the regular leave policies. Some are kind of doing a hybrid. And then some have just decided to keep this policy going because they don't want somebody deciding to come to work when they're sick or when they should be quarantining just because they need a paycheck. So my recommendation would be to go ahead and extend it either to March 31st or June 30th.
And if you extend it to March 31st, and you get to the point you're not sure, can you extend it again, or do we have to make the big extension now?
No, we can extend it to March 31st now and then extend it again if we decide that it's needed.
Well, what do you think? Would it be easier for you to do it to June, or would it be easier just to do it to March 31st to save you less headaches or whatever? You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, really, it's the difference in work on my part is talking to you guys about it. It's putting it on the agenda to see if y'all want to extend it again. Other than that, it's just letting staff know, this has been extended until this date. So really, I'm fine with whichever date you all would feel more comfortable with. If we want to go ahead and extend it to June and be done with it, that's fine too.
Now, is there an expense to this?
Only if, not really, if it's used. So, and this is going to impact more, our part-time staff who might not be able to work from home. So far, if we've had to have somebody quarantine, they've been able to work all of their hours from home. What this does is if someone is positive, so they have to stay home and isolate, or if they are ordered to quarantine by the health department because of exposure, this lets them be paid for their normal hours. So this is already hours that's budgeted. It's not anything over and above. So expense-wise, it's not really costing anymore. It's just really that benefit of saying, hey, if it comes down to this, be honest, do what you need to do to keep everybody safe and to keep yourself healthy. And, don't worry about having to put food on your table because you can't afford it.
Well, then I'd say just go ahead and be done with it and go to June.
Okay.
That's just my opinion,
I'd say I'm down with Dave go to June because of contract tracing, not so much of COVID, but man, everyone's contract tracing. So if they're even around somebody at one time, that they'd have to take off for 10 days or 14 days. So I motioned to move to June.
I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Now let's talk about our in-person versus our drive-through services only, please.
Well, I have had people come to me and ask me when the library is going to open again. So on my part, I mean, everybody say what they feel, but on my part, since I've had people come to me, I think we should open the library. I mean, it might be a limited, I'm saying number of people. I don't know how that works or how it's set up, but I do think we should be allowing some in-person.
I agree with Dave on that, Melissa, other libraries are open kind of, in a way. So it's like, I think it's time to just step out in faith and say, let's open. I mean, as long as we have supplies in place, like masks for people to use when they come in, things like that in place first before we open the doors.
So as far as what other libraries are doing, so if you look at our bordering counties, everyone except for Harrison is offering some sort of in-person services. Harrison, like us, they're still doing curbside. We're still in the red. Our incident rate has not improved at all. I understand, and we've gotten calls about reopening as well. And some patrons are frustrated, and I get that. And even on the staff side, we all want things to be back to normal. It's easier for us when people can come into the library. The flip side of that, though, is when we've been open to people coming into the library, there are so many people who simply refuse to wear masks. We do have to consider that we do have staff that are immunocompromised, or otherwise at high risk for complications. Ultimately, it's your all's decision, but I really think that the safety of the staff needs to play a heavy role in your decision.
Okay. Now, I'm not trying to change anybody's mind or anything, but you said, people don't want to wear their mask. Is there any, have you asked them to leave and they won't leave?
We have not, no. What we discussed at the beginning of all of this is that we didn't want to put staff in the position of confronting people about masks.
No, that's true too. Yeah. So I don't know. It'd be nice if everybody just go along and do the right thing. I got my mask with me everywhere.
Right.
Not to say I remember it every time, but I got to walk back to the car and get it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I mean, if you feel, I mean, I know the patrons want to get in there and I think they should, but if you feel the staff feels uncomfortable because of being in the red, I mean, if we should wait till the color changes a little bit, I can understand that wholeheartedly, because I don't want to force anybody, because I've never had it, knock on wood, but they say it's really bad, you know what I'm saying? So
right. And it's not an easy decision to make. It absolutely isn't. But we have managed to make it this far without any of our staff getting sick. And it's scary to think if one of our immunocompromised staff caught it and things went bad, is it worth it, I guess.
yeah. Now, how often do they update that color? Is that weekly, monthly, or?
I've been going by what the health department's been putting out, and they've been putting something out usually about three times a week, 3 or 4 times a week, they've been saying what our incident rate is. I know it has to be below 25 before it drops to orange. And the last update that they put out, I think, was on Tuesday. It was either Tuesday or yesterday, and we're still above 60.
Okay. So if we're still that high, think we should wait till the next meeting and just leave it drive through and wait till the next meeting and revisit it?
That would be my recommendation.
I mean, everybody else has their opinion. I mean, I know that people want to get back in, I can understand, but then we got to think about the safety too.
Right.
Yeah, I'm with Dave on all parts. I mean, I understand, like, I don't want to put pressure on the staff because I understand that, but also we serve the community, and the community I know wants the library back open, to go about business. So it's a touchy situation. It's weight on both ends, it hasn't been easy for anybody, but moving forward, we have to really have a game plan. I think we just can't every month say, well, we can't open because we're afraid of what's going to happen. To a point, we're going to say, like, you moving forward or not moving forward, and the drive-through works. Or I don't know. We always have surveys to the public, and I don't want to put one out next year, and then they all say, well, the library's never open, and we don't know what to do about it. And and that's the thing. People like going to the library. I like going to the library, so it's a tough situation. But on your recommendation, I'm for that. I'm for keeping the staff safe, people safe. I'm also for, like, getting the public back to some kind of normalcy, some kind of hope, and the library is the hope of the town, kind of, in a way. It's where people come and gather, and always has been. And in the past, even all through history, libraries have been that kind of gathering hope place at all times. So,
Melissa, do you think when we decide to open it back up, if you're still, afraid to go full force right away, which I can understand, do you think something like they do it to school, like just a couple days a week, would that work, or would that be too much craziness? I mean, not doing it right now because we're 60%, but I mean, when we start coming back open.
I think when we get to the point where we can start reopening, I think sticking with our current hours, that we're doing right now, we're doing 10 to 6 Monday through Thursday, 9 to 5 Friday and Saturday, and 1 to 5 on Sundays. I think once it's safe for people to come into the library, at the very least, we can stick with those hours.
Okay.
I think too, vaccine availability may come into play with this some. Once we get to the point, now, granted, even if all staff got vaccinated today, it's still, they're still not going to have that immunity for several weeks. But once our immunocompromised staff have that opportunity to be vaccinated, and our high risk staff, I see no reason why we wouldn't be able to go back to our original hours. If you eliminate that aspect, that you're basically decreasing your chances of getting infected to 5%.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing. And with that, and still wearing masks on top of it, I think you've reduced the risk so much that keeping restrictions on hours may not be necessary.
Okay. Now, this has nothing to do with the library meeting or anything, but I seen something on the internet the other day that maybe, I don't know if anybody wants to, before they get to check it out, that there was a bunch of people that got shots of I don't know the names of the two of them. The only one I remember is the Pfizer. And they had a lot of problems with the Pfizer. People getting sick and really bad, and they didn't with the other one. So I don't know. My name's not on the list yet. I'm not old enough.
Right. Well, no, we have some staff that are borderline, like they're, a year too young.
Yeah.
Does the library, have the government given a library a day that librarians would get the vaccine, like the schools are getting vaccines and nursing homes? Is there any plan of that futuristic for libraries that you've seen?
That has been highly confusing. So Terry Manuel, our state librarian and commissioner, received information from the lieutenant governor's office that public library staff were included with school staff. That's not actually worked out to where that's the case. And most counties, no health department that I've heard from or about has gotten that information from the governor's office. So just the communication there. So I've also been told that we would be in group 1C, I think, or C1, which would be along with like the public facing employees and things. So right now, Mike, I don't have a good answer for you.
No, that's fine. I was just concerned because I know like Hamilton County in Ohio, they're opening schools back up just because they couldn't get the vaccine unless the school was open. So I didn't want to sit into a position where if the library wasn't open, they would actually skip over the library and say, well, you guys aren't open, so you're not going to qualify for the vaccines. If we're only going to qualify libraries that are actually open, because that's kind of what the pathway they're going is like, if you're open and operating, we're going to get the vaccine to you. But if you're closed, there's really no need to give you the vaccine. So it's kind of like, if it comes down to that, I feel like they definitely want to open the library back up to be able to get the vaccine and not be on the other side where you're not going to get the vaccine because we're closed up and down. And I'm all for keeping people safe and open the library. But I remember when the COVID started, we discussed the fact that if schools were able to go back to school, students, that we were going to open the library back up. That was like our decision back in March of, when it started. That was one of the decisions we actually made, was like, if schools are okay to come back open with children in the school or students in school, then the library should be able to open back up with that. And I know it's not full force school. I know that it's not 100% open, but it's kind of open. So that's something else. The way futuristic is that was the decision we made in March of last year.
Sure.
Okay, so are we making a motion to wait and remain closed and drive-through services only until our next meeting in February? Is that the consensus?
Yeah, I'll go along with that. As long as it don't mess up the employees getting the shot.
Mm-hmm.
Melissa, if you see something where that's going to hinder them, then maybe we need to call a special meeting just to get it open so they can get their shots. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And I will tell you, I have reached out to Three Rivers, not gotten a response yet. I'm going to keep trying. But yeah, if something like that comes up, absolutely, I'll contact you all and we can set up a special meeting.
Okay. But besides that, I'm fine till next meeting, since the numbers are still real high.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. If we have nothing else, then I guess we can go ahead and remind everyone that our next meeting will be virtually on February 18th at 6:30. It's now 7:19 my time. Do we have a motion?
Okay. I'll second it.
right, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. And Melissa, the next meeting, I might be on vacation, but if my signal works, I'll zoom in from wherever I'm at, down in South Carolina.
Okay, okay. Well, enjoy your vacation.
Maybe I'll make you mad and I'll sit on the beach and do it. And then, you know what I'm saying? I won't be that cruel. I won't be that cruel.